All right.
Did we lost Ron?
We lost Ron,
We're welcoming Jeff.
right? And I think we decided you guys could sit at the table if you felt like it. The finance committee and the finance group.
Yeah, just-
We have room, I think.
I'll send it to Jeff.
You want? Okay, you can,
Thank you.
so you can sneak out early.
Okay.
All right, meeting of the Water Quality Management Committee, Thursday, August 1st. We'll come to order. First item on the agenda is report and discussion of the meeting with the Board of Selectmen this past Monday regarding the draft CWMP. Ron was there, Wynn was there, Virginia and I shared presentation duties, and maybe you could give a summary of what happened. And
I think the meeting went smoothly. All of the selectmen had good questions. Eric said this is basically the plan you saw a year ago, now with greater detail and more evaluations in response to comments raised by various agencies. I got the impression from the chairman that the schedule that we've proposed, which is that any other comments or issues that need to be folded in are done, so that we meet an October 1st filing date with MEPA, Massachusetts EPA, because that triggers then a whole nother public process, including a public hearing. But in order to stay on track for all of the various certificates that we need, hearings that we need to be ready for April town meeting, we really need to file by October 1st. And it sounded like the chairman was amenable to that. So I heard no surprises, no problems, and an interested board all the way across, which I thought was, good. Paul was
was
also
there.
at the
Yep.
meeting for, I think, other reasons. So, that would be my report.
okay. Any comments or additions or corrections from anybody who was there or wasn't there? Saw it on TV.
I was interested to note that the selectmen wanted on their own to see if they could have some publicity for this in town. They wanted to bring together people and talk about it in their own way. And I guess they're going to go forward with some plan to do that.
I would presume so.
Ron?
Thanks, Eric. There was one particular area that was raised, I think, by Selectman Murphy about the betterments, and that this is something that he was very concerned that this could be a serious issue across the town, and that we need to really go about that in a very open and consultative way. And he was concerned about the schedule that we have, because there's no real schedule of public comment and review of the documents and discussion, and he thought that could be a problem with an issue with how we move forward without that, although we're televised, but to give people an opportunity really to comment with an agenda to discuss these documents. So that was something he was very concerned about, and thought we should really focus on that.
Fair enough. Next item on the agenda, report and discussion of special legislation study group. That's Virginia and Ron with me sitting in. You have the floor. Keep going.
Oh, okay, thanks.
How we doing?
Well, Virginia can start.
No, go ahead.
Anyway, well, since I mentioned betterments, I guess it's a good segue to move on with it. Yes, but we have been actually working now quite diligently on the on what options there are for the special legislation regarding betterments, and a couple of things that we're looking at somewhat at this point that. We will be making recommendations apparently on aspects concerning the term of the repayment period for the betterment, which is really a lien, and also perhaps the interest rate, but that the selectmen, from what I understand, will be making a decision on their own with the town manager on the ratio of how much the cost for whatever we do, if it's sewers or whatever, would be, how it would be split up. Whether it would be 50-50 with 50 going to the tax base, 70-30, whatever it might be, that's something that will be in their area. Now, one thing that Eric asked me to do, and which was to become a novice beginning paralegal, to search the entire state's special legislation database. And so I went through 7 years of experience in the state. And there were two aspects that came out which were related to the 2 points I just mentioned. We were talking about interest rates and also the term. And right now, from our understanding, the term to start with is usually 20 years for repayment of a betterment. And we would like to make any cost burden particularly to the people who are serviced by it, as small as possible, and to minimize it. And there was one case that's been passed where the term was extended, and it was approved by the legislature, I've forgotten which town now, but to 30 years. And that would be the same term that the town would be borrowing. So it would match with the town borrowing and the repayment period. So it wouldn't be shorter, or could be if it was 30 years, which I think would be of interest. It could be longer, it could be shorter, but the thing is, we haven't gone that far. But we do have there is legal precedent to extend it to 30 years. The second thing that was of interest is that we've been talking about the state revolving fund loan that would be used for the infrastructure. And if we file and go ahead to get 0% interest through doing things like the flow neutral bylaw, get other hurdles in place so that we can make an application for 0% loan, that would be important, because it's a lot of money, it's like $600,000 a year difference, which is, what was that, about $400 per home difference if we had to go for the 2% loan. So it's quite large, but that's a separate factor. But one thing about in regard to the percentage on the betterment part is that another town has had special legislation passed that allowed the town to charge the homeowners the same interest rate that the town received, with no addition to it. In other words, it wouldn't be like, if we got 0%, it would be 0 plus 2. You could actually have a 0, if we got 0%, there's legal precedent that they could be charged an interest-free loan for if the town decides to do it, to do that. Or if it's a 2% loan, then it could be a 2%, because that's what the town would be getting. So that helps too with minimizing costs for these funds. So these are a couple of things that have been done. It doesn't mean that we would follow those exactly. I don't know what our recommendations will be yet, but we've started to get the groundwork and to look at those aspects to see how we can do that. So that's sort of, I think, Virginia, you can follow on with, maybe you've picked up some other things since that I haven't, or Eric also.
One thing you asked me to do, and I've been searching for, is the assessing office some time ago gave us a sort of a description of what the assessments would be like if you based it on the home value instead of on street frontage or something. And I know I sent it to you at some point.
Oh, no.
I always send it to you.
I have
can't
it.
find it again.
I have it.
Oh, you found it?
No, I found it, yeah.
I sent it to you.
You sent it to me, yeah, because I didn't get it, and then she sent it to me,
Good.
so I can forward it to you,
Fine.
yeah.
Well, thank you.
No, I have it, so,
Oh, good,
from
good.
Sia, so it's sort of a
Terrific. Okay.
circle, yeah.
But it's worth looking at, and it's
Yeah,
one
no.
of the things we are looking at here.
It is, that's a very good point, but anyway, so that's good, we can look at, that's another way of thinking about this and how the assessment is done, whether it's I've forgotten the terminology, there's one just an equal breakdown per unit, okay, basically, that's one option. Then there's this other one we can explore of, but I don't remember finding a case where they had a variable,
They did it for water, but not for sewer.
not for
So I guess
sewer,
we're
right,
looking
right,
at-
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There are a total of 4 different tools that we might use or propose to town meeting that would, in each case, singly or together, help reduce the cost to the homeowner to the degree the homeowner pays a betterment. As Ron referenced earlier, the betterment could be 50-50, could be 70-30, it could be 0, no betterment at all, could be total betterment, 100%. So these 4 tools that we're looking at are things that are not in Mass General laws now, at least not for sewer betterments. And so we would need to ask the selectmen to file special legislation, which is usually called home rule legislation. My task was to check with the town moderator, thinking ahead to the discussion that town meeting would have. And he thinks that each one of these should be a separate article. The special legislation that we actually file may end up being one piece, but in terms of town meeting discussion, he thought that each one would need its own time. And a couple have been referenced, so the interest, the amount of interest that would be paid on the betterment is one. Currently, all betterments are assessed either on the front footage or the square footage of your lot, and the town has to choose one of those. Doing it based on assessed valuation, which is what Eric just mentioned, would be a new, would need special legislation for us to be able to do that. To pay it in equal payments is one of the things that hasn't been mentioned here tonight. When you pay a mortgage, you know what your mortgage payment is every month, and it's a combination of principal and interest. When you pay a betterment, you start with a huge amount of interest and very little principal, and it gradually declines over the 20 years that it exists now. This would level it out, so you would have even payments, and that makes it easier for people to budget. And then the last tool was the interest rate.
Term.
The term, thank you.
Right, okay.
Term right now for sewer is 20 years. But for water projects, it's 30 years. That's already in Mass General laws. So somebody got busy and got that spread over 30 years because the bonds are over 30 years. So it does really make sense to make it over 30 years. So at the very least, I think that piece should pass town meeting because we have actual precedent. It shouldn't be difficult for the legislature to make the change.
Any further comments or observations? Steve?
Observation, if you have a panhandle waterfront lot, then frontage would be grossly unfair to everybody else. I mean, that guy would have a valuable lot and be paying practically nothing.
There's always some winners and some losers.
Well, I mean, but square feet is,
Square feet is,
seems, I don't see any disadvantages of it relative to frontage.
right. In the public meetings that the review committee had, this idea of the betterment should be based on the value of the property in the house.
That's a third one, and that may be even more fair. But
Right.
I'm saying just
But
square
footage,
feet versus frontage to me is a no-brainer.
no-brainer, it's
Right.
square footage.
Right.
Yeah.
And my question is, which was actually, I think, Wynn put the idea in my head. Have we found out enough to explain the capital flow? In other words, when there's a debt, what's the word for it, is finished.
Excluded debt.
When old debt is retired,
Debt drop.
you can then borrow X dollars, the same amount, and at some percentage. How does, and that's keeping your tax base constant,
Tax
which
rate.
is tax
Tax
rate, excuse me, yes. Tax rate constant. And the total tax needed to cover that. So how does the betterment work into that?
There have been a lot of
Does
questions.
it let you borrow more, or,
We've been arguing about that.
Yeah, without getting too, we talked the other night, betterment is like a completely separate thing from your tax bill. It comes on the tax bill,
no, I understand,
and-
but
it is
I
only
understand from
to
the
certain people.
homeowners, but from the town
I-
and the project's perspective.
My answer to your question is, we are not educated enough to really answer that well. And rather than guess,
Right.
let's work on it, and then we will have a discussion about
Right.
finances.
But it's very basic
It's
and
a
it's
very
very
good-
simple.
Nope.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Nope.
somebody in
Yeah.
town hall, if they don't know that,
Yeah.
should have a different job.
Well,
Well, we'll see.
Not that simple.
Yeah.
Eric,
Yes.
I may have been not correct, but I was under the impression that in New Silver Beach, we simply divided the cost of that project by 210 parcels of property. And the betterments were equal for each thing. Now,
Sure.
I may not have gotten that right.
and
That's
maybe
another option.
That's the way you
Yeah.
can do it.
You can do it that way.
That's an allowed option?
Sure.
Well, I think one of the things that would be helpful to everybody is for SIA to have developed the history of what the town has done in terms of betterments. My memory is that they are voted by the town meeting. They are recommended by the Board of Public Works, which is the selectmen under the current charter. But the actual betterment is a town meeting vote, is my memory.
Right.
So there were 2 town meeting votes for New Silver Beach. And the first one was, well, there were 2. And then going back in time, there will be one for in the early 1980s for
Right.
the original sewer.
Well, we're getting down in the weeds, and the special legislation study group will come back with answers to these and more questions
I-
on the 31st or 29th, or whenever,
29th
in
is the next one.
29th of August.
In that period, do you want me to put together a little fact sheet on?
Yeah, just a history of what did the town do in the previous.
Yeah, there's only 2 things to look at, the
Yeah.
original sewer and the North Falmouth one.
I think there's just one more element to this, too, is that we have 1,500 properties and 1,700 units. And that means that some properties, like motels or big compound complexes, would have more than one betterment, basically. So that's, just so that should be sort of explained. Because when it comes to the equal unit thing, if we went that way, then it becomes a factor.
Right.
Right,
So,
that's exactly it.
Eric, one quick, if people are considering 50/50, then there's no way this is negligible, this issue of the betterment and the
Right.
Oh,
retirement.
nobody's ever said it was
Okay.
negligible, don't worry.
No, this is a very important question.
No, it's a big issue. Who pays and how much?
Yes.
That's the big issue about everything.
And I just want to follow up on what Ron said about Selectman Murphy's concern. He wasn't sure whether the town could do its thinking all by November on the betterments. And my answer was, it's time for us to start the conversation. We'll see how far we get, and if it doesn't get figured out at fall town meeting, we still have time. It can be figured out at spring town meeting.
Next item, report and discussion of flow neutral bylaw study group. That was Steve and John. Either one of you want to bring us up to speed?
Well, I think we've made considerable progress on that, and we've narrowed the scope considerably, so that it's going to, narrowed it and broadened it in a sense, that we've decided that to have the bylaw cover everything that's sewered in the town of Falmouth, so it will cover the old sections of Main Street and there, and it will also supersede the New Silver Beach bylaws. And so it will just be, anything that's connected to a sewer pipe will fall into this. And I think we've condensed it down to a quite a reasonable thing. Fundamentally, what we've said is that anything that's hooked to a sewer can maintain the flow and number of bedrooms that they possess at the moment, and that on properties of less than an acre, if they do not have 4 bedrooms, they will be able by right to expand to 4 bedrooms. Commercial properties will be able to expand by right 10% of their flow. And then we put in place a variance procedure by the Board of Selectmen to deal with special problems.
Okay.
So-
Comments, questions?
I have one
Wayne?
question. Did you consider, it's been considered that if you were to have a section of town where ETs, eco-toilets and IA systems were used instead of sewering, that this would allow people to, from a physical point of view, to put on more, because it would reduce the flow into the septic system. It would make it possible for them to put more on their property, and we ought to deal with that at the same time.
We decided that was up to your working group, that
Well-
if the checkerboard bylaw passes, it in a sense supersedes this in those cases. But it wasn't appropriate for us to put it in this bylaw. It would be too much crosstalk.
And it's probably not inappropriate. I mean, if we've basically made the assumption that we're saying that any house in the town of Falmouth by right can expand to 4 bedrooms, then
It's only
in the sewer services.
Sewer system.
service area, so the only area
Right.
that the bylaw applies to
Yes.
are sewered areas.
Yeah.
This doesn't affect anything
I understand that.
outside.
I understand, that's what I thought you were saying.
Okay.
And it doesn't say anything about betterments.
No.
It's not related to
He's not
betterment.
a- he's not
Or
asking
sewer
that.
fees.
He's not asking about that.
And what you were saying, Steve, is that that our checkerboarding discussion could take that up. But so far, the checkerboarding discussion that I have seen so far, without talking again with Matt, who we've not been able to get together with, only applies to 62 properties in the demonstration project. Has up to now only applied to 62 projects in the demonstration area. And if at some future time we go forward with
Right.
1,000 eco-toilets, let us say, or 500 or whatever, those areas are going to be able to justify, from a physical point of view, being able to expand more rapidly than they would otherwise do so.
Well,
And
it's-
therefore,
All right, I can answer that. It's not in the draft that they've been working on, and it is part of the assignment of the Echo Toilet Subcommittee, which is you and Matt,
yeah,
which has, I gather, not met. And
Not
and I think we're going to have to light a little fire under that.
yeah.
You do have Matt's draft from the last time, that didn't get into the last time
That's
meeting,
right.
but that he had proposed, and that would be a good starting point. But you and he and Sia and I have some work to do this month.
Yes, we do.
So we're
Matt will be back in a few days.
good.
And I have all the material which Matt sent me, and I also got all the legislative material which seems relevant to it.
Good, good. Well,
I'm making my report right now, but
I think he did.
and we will get back to you on that.
Good. Well,
But I understand, I would like to get an idea from the committee on what they think. Does this apply? Are we talking about 62 eco-toilets or whatever number the demonstration project has? Are we talking about that for the bylaw? Or are we talking about?
Well, you're changing.
Yeah, we're on flow
We're in the
neutral
middle of the
still.
flow neutral bylaw. I'm not sure which one.
No,
we're talking about
but
now.
for the checkerboarding study, which will require a change which will require either a town meeting change or a change at the legislative level, or both.
the draft that Matt put together last time
Yes.
applied to sewer service areas. If you lived in one and chose to have an eco toilet, and we presumed that it had been approved by DEP as a substitute for being on a sewer,
Right.
you could do that and not hook up to the sewer. That was the gist of that draft.
That is not the way I read the draft, which I have available, which says
Right.
specifically
Well-
62 eco-toilets.
In that case, the subcommittee should get together
Yeah,
and talk about it, because we're not
Right.
going to do it tonight.
No, we can't do it. I just wanted to get a
Please ask the committee what
Yeah.
they think.
But to be fair, until he's got something to show us. it's
I think you need to do a little homework
Yeah,
first.
that's right.
Okay.
Jeff had a
Are-
question.
Are we still on the flow neutral, or is that?
Yeah, we are, and though we have actually heard the report on the eco toilets.
I just had a couple things. One is, if we do this, if this passes or whatever, just as you suggested, John, there are a couple issues. One is, would that then apply to the existing sewer area as well?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's-
Everything that is sewered.
Everything that's sewered would be,
New Silver Beach, Woods Hall, Main Street.
but it wouldn't apply to septic or those systems or
Sewers.
things.
Sewers.
Only
Sewers.
sewers. Right, okay, so okay, so if you're gonna limit to, okay, then the notion is, and this I think was brought up by somebody at one of the town meetings about, or a meeting, maybe it wasn't a town meeting, maybe it was one of the, I think it was one of the review committee meetings when this was being discussed about if someone is on the sewer system and they have 4 bedrooms now, and then they're assessed the betterment, then they have this new lien, and they can't add another bedroom.
Can't have a new lien.
This is.
Can't have a new lien.
No, I mean, it's the betterment. The betterment is the lien, okay? The betterment is equivalent to a lien.
Well,
So on the property, you have to pay
flow
back.
neutral is not a betterment.
No, I know, but what I mean
Okay.
is that the question comes in, the question is that if I am sewered, and then I have a betterment, and I'm gonna have to pay for it, and I've got a flow neutral bylaw in place,
Yep.
I already have 4 bedrooms, I've gotta pay this new thing,
Right.
and I've got an infirm parent that I need to bring to my house, and I need more space, then
Then you can go to the selectmen under this.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've
Okay.
put variance
For variance.
procedure in.
Oh, okay,
And what
okay.
we've
I didn't
said
get that. Okay.
is in essence, if you can demonstrate to the Board of Health that you can
Mhm.
design a fully compliant Title V system for your property for the number of bedrooms you're requesting, say you want to add 2 to 6, if you could cite a 6-bedroom Title V system on your property, and there is available capacity at the sewage treatment plant, you then can apply to the selectmen for a variance for those 2 bedrooms.
So you're no worse off than you are now.
No, but
You
what's-
can do anything that you can do now. Plus, some people can do a little bit more.
So it's based more on Title V, even though you're on a sewer?
You demonstrate that the property that you have would be able, under normal circumstances, to take those 2 additional bedrooms that you're requesting. So that you would be able to design a compliant 6-bedroom Title V system. If you can do that, then you can go and petition the Board of Selectmen, provided that there's available capacity at the treatment plant.
Okay,
And-
But put it another way, you can
Yeah.
do anything that Title V currently would allow you to do. And you can
Yeah,
go
but-
and 4 bedrooms by right.
So, see, all right.
Well, you can't do anything, I mean, there has to be flow, there has to be capacity.
Well, the
at that
capacity.
plant.
Yeah, right.
It has to fall within the selectmen's priorities of how they want to use
Right,
that
yeah.
capacity.
Okay.
And you have to
Okay.
be able to have an engineer to say that you can cite that system. And then you make the request, the selectmen don't have to grant it.
Right. No, but my concern is not exactly that. My concern is more like that I have a house now. Let's just say that it's me, whoever, it's not me though, but if I have a house, 'cause I don't have that many bedrooms. But if I have a house with 4 bedrooms now, okay, and my septic, Title V on my lot is for 4, and now the sewer goes by, and now I have this cost related to it, and I need another bedroom. I mean, I like the variance idea. I mean, I really think that's great. But to say that it's based on, if you're already at the limit and suddenly you're paying more money, people are going to say, hey, wait a minute, I want to be able to expand another, but I wouldn't.
That's the purpose of the
That's
flow
what-
neutral
yeah,
bylaw.
Right.
No, I know that. But I'm just trying to say, well, I know what the purpose
You're a
is.
green guy. You can't be green and also be for unlimited growth.
I am, listen, you're talking about me. It's not me. I said it's not me. I can tell, okay.
Mr. X.
I can
I
tell
am-
you one street in this town where the sewer will never go, and it's Fay Road.
I'm not talking, I'm talking about Mara Vista Avenue, okay? Yeah.
If I may just comment a little bit, if you count the actual, so it's an interesting hypothetical, but the reality is there aren't that many 4-bedroom houses. They're mostly 1, 2, and 3-bedroom houses.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like setting up a straw man at some level for the 4-bedroom house, because there aren't that many. And then the other is that if you wanted today to take your 4-bedroom house, and you'd have to pay for either, I mean, an IA system or any other system, that it would allow you to have more
Mhm.
than your existing septic. And so what the betterment is actually doing is having you avoid the cost of a very expensive Title V septic system. All you have to do is design it. And within Title V, there's provisions for innovative and alternative systems and other ways to get greater flow. So I think that it's not unlikely that if somebody has a 4-bedroom house in Mara Vista, they're gonna be able to design a Title V compliant septic system to get the additional
Now,
bedroom.
we have to be a little careful. It's a compliant Title V system without variances. So an IA system is not something that you
Is that a
get by
variance?
right. Yeah, you don't get that by right. So what we're saying is, you come in and you have to have a standard Title V system design.
The Flow Neutral Committee has not finished its work,
Right.
it's fair to say.
Okay.
And it's gotten some good input tonight, and
Yeah.
we'll be
Jeff,
back. Jeff, join in.
I had sort of two comments that were kind of tied to Wynn's question about eco toilets. With the flow neutral, if you are going to establish a flow neutral, and then within that area have the potential of having eco toilets, you want to make sure that your growth neutral bylaw or flow neutral bylaw doesn't allow you to do more with an eco toilet than you could, because you could always have these, similar to the, I wanna add additional things. If you allowed an eco toilet to, because they don't generate any flow, build a super McMansion on one parcel, and then all of a sudden, the next person that comes in to move there says, I don't want eco toilets, I wanna go back to sewer, now you've got something that's much larger than
Right.
anything that would have been allowed.
Good point.
Except that habitable dwellings are not not regulated by flow, they're regulated by bedrooms.
Understood, but what, I guess,
Yeah.
what Wynn seemed to imply is that if you put in eco toilets and then is there the potential to put on more bedrooms because you're not generating the flow and you're meeting the compliance of,
I've
Technically,
understood
a
that
Title
that
V.
probably
Right.
is the case.
so I caution there, and
Right.
and the other suggestion is for areas where you want demonstration projects and you're going to potentially look for 0% SRF money, as long as that's available. And if it's going to be in an area outside of these existing sewer areas, you may also want to think about how you want to deal with growth, because in order to get that, you'd need a growth neutral bylaw for that as well.
It's a good issue for the Eco Toilet Subcommittee.
We may then recommend that the flow neutral bylaw include something like that.
Well,
or-
we can, come
See
in
when
with
you get
something
there.
first, and we'll
Yeah,
see where we
okay,
go with
yeah,
it.
Good idea.
You're also addressing the timeliness of connection, mandatory connection.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, that's in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 90 days.
90 days.
Ron?
Just one, the Board of Health actually, just on this topic that you raised, when the Board of Health has already authorized an additional bedroom to a home on Green Pond, I think. Not sure which pond, I'll think of the name of the street, but because they were right on the water, but because they converted all of their toilets to eco toilets, the net effect was actually less in terms of the impact than the smaller number of bedrooms. It's about a year ago. I mean, you might remember that, John.
Don't remember it.
You don't?
Well,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, these are things we need to look at.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, any further comment on the three study group
Well,
efforts?
yeah, I mean, I mean, this was good discussion. It gives me some ideas too for how we have to improve the flow neutral one. So that working group obviously has to meet again. But we're so far along, is it appropriate for us to circulate
Nope.
our draft?
No.
Nope,
No.
Not to the,
not tonight. No,
not tonight, but I mean.
Oh, well, when
tomorrow
it's
by
ready,
email or something.
when it's ready to be circulated, they'll all be circulated, but yeah, not, this last one, you and I and several others had some additional comments that
True.
needed fixing. It's not ready.
No, it's not, yeah.
Right. Wynn?
I just wanted to ask the question about circulating things between now and the next meeting when we meet.
Well, the subcommittee should do its work, and when
Yeah.
it feels it's ready to bring it to the whole group, hopefully that'll be by the 29th of August. 'cause
Well, it better be.
Exactly.
We could then circulate things with the admonishments. This is not for discussion until the meeting.
Yeah, exactly, good, perfect. Okay, review of consultant studies of Site 7 issues. Crocker Pond, potential soil attenuation of phosphorus, migration from infiltrating treated wastewater, and technical memo 12, updated groundwater modeling. We have Jeff here to tell us about these things.
I didn't realize I was going to be presenting on.
Well,
Do you want
let's definitely do them one at a
Yeah,
time.
Crocker Pond.
Right. Crocker Pond.
Crocker Pond. So we have issued a memo on the phosphorus attenuation. I can't remember the ecologic. I don't think it had a separate technical memorandum number. That's gone through the reviews, and we're at the point now of preparing to incorporate those findings into the CWMP to fill in those gaps, just in anticipation of other comments that we're going to be getting, because we need to start filling in those pieces of those findings. So Nate was going to be working on that when he comes back from his first vacation. He was going to be working on that and on the Tech Memo 12. I guess,
All right.
did you want me to,
Well,
I'm not sure.
Well, maybe Virginia
Do
could
you want
give
me
us,
to
give
hit
us
on
the,
the highlights of
a
the-
pricey, you or she or somebody can give us the highlights of that report.
Well,
Okay.
okay. As was noted in the draft CWMP, the potential impacts to Crocker Pond, which is 1,800 to 2,000 feet, depending on what point you measure it from, downstream of Site 7, where we intend to discharge the tertiarily treated effluent. There were questions raised by the abutters, by Buzzards Bay Coalition, and so additional studies were done. And this report is the additional studies. Those additional studies included soil borings, both upstream of the site and downstream of Site 7, between Site 7 and Crocker Pond. So we had an idea what the soils were in the vicinity of the sand filter beds where the discharge would take place, and then specifically soils downstream, but before it got to Crocker Pond, so we could see as the tertiarily treated effluent passes through in the groundwater, what is the adsorptive capacity. That's the ability of the grains of sand to grab the phosphorus and hang on to it and never let it go. And so basically this study looked at that. It had to start with what's the flow, and you may remember that originally the flow we thought to Site 7 was going to be about 300,000, 290,000 gallons. But when we finally got the sewer service area defined, the flow is 260,000. So that's what this was modeled at. Secondly, we looked at the area of the sand filter beds that would be contributing to Crocker Pond. Not all of the discharge from Site 7 touches Crocker Pond. And what they estimated, and these are all conservative numbers, that a maximum of 42% of the effluent would potentially touch and get into Crocker Pond, flow through it, because it's a kettle hole pond, no streams, and then flow out of it again. Obviously, with that tertiarily treated effluent, there is both phosphorus and nitrogen. Normally, the phosphorus, as I said, grabs onto the grains of sand and sticks there. And it does that both in the aerated area that is between the sand filter beds and the water table. And it turns out there's 40 feet that this water can pass through before it hits the groundwater. And then it has somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 feet to go before it maybe reaches Crocker Pond. So knowing the amount of aluminum in the soils based on the soil cores, Ecologic was able to calculate how much time, what the capacity of the soils were. And basically, the news is reassuring. If we do no treatment at all at the plant, it would take 75 years, most conservatively, to have any phosphorus ever reach Crocker Pond. As Crocker Pond is a freshwater pond, and so the nutrient of concern is phosphorus that might create more vegetative development in the pond. The nitrogen just passes through it. So that basically was the answer that was needed to the residents of Crocker Pond, butters, and to anyone who would raise the question. If there's additional treatment at the plant, then you may get as much as 1,000 years before even conservatively a molecule of phosphorus would
We're
reach.
talking additional phosphorus treatment.
Additional phosphorus treatment, right, at the
So
plant
and
is
the no
always,
treatment isn't no treatment, it's just no additional phosphorus.
that's
No-
correct.
No treatment is tertiary treatment?
Ter-
It's
ter-
current.
That's right, the current level of treatment, which is tertiary treatment. The other interesting piece that was developed at the time that this was being done was we also looked at all the monitoring wells around the plant now, because it's been in operation for 36 years. Is there any phosphorus in any of them? And the answer is no. So that it looks like we're really in pretty good shape in terms of phosphorus. The second half of the picture that Ecologic touched on, but is mainly in Memo 12, has to do with the nitrogen, which is
Can I-
also moving along.
Before we move to that, can I
Yes.
ask something about the
Sure.
phosphorus? Is this special treatment that takes you from 75 years to 1,000 years expensive?
It can be. It depends on the level of treatment that you're trying to achieve.
Because if you wait 75 years and then put in that special treatment, you've already filled up the sand.
Correct. It wasn't Ecologic's job to deal with to make a choice between 75 years
Right.
and 1,000. But the real answer is we put monitoring wells downstream of the sand filter beds, just like all the other ones, and we see, is there phosphorus 15 feet from the sand filter bed?
You'll watch
From
it, you'll
on
see
the
it.
down, you look for the phosphorus at the site.
You'll
You don't
see it.
wait 75 years.
Right,
You'll look for it to migrate before you.
Yeah.
right, very
Right.
good,
So you,
okay.
and then we're also doing another study to look at the costs associated with.
Because the special treatment presumably still leaves some tiny but finite amount of phosphorus. in it,
Tiny but finite.
Which is what takes 1,000 years, but if you've already used it up.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
that's right, yeah.
In the report, it gives the actual concentrations of current.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the monitoring,
I-
that Virginia mentioned finesses,
Yeah.
that's
Right,
fine.
and, the more numbers you put out, except for the people who are passionate about this, it just gets really confusing. So I try not to put numbers out if I don't have to, because they're just, it's hard to keep track of.
Ron?
Actually, I enjoyed reading this because it was quite, this is my kind of thing. This is kind of,
It was well written.
Yeah, it's very clear and to the point. And also talked about the fact that the soil is basically sand. There's very little
Yep.
fine particulate matter, so it's somewhat limited in that way to absorbing things because of the bigger pieces compared to clay or silt. There is, and so I was reading in here, and there were some statements made that I tried to get more information on, more specific information. And I think that we need to go back to them with this, based on, I've talked to specialists and Professor McBride at Cornell and talked to George Hoyfelder about phosphorus and issues, and there is a factor that they did not touch on in this report, and that is the actual effluent that we have coming out of the plant, and we will have coming out of the plant in terms of pH. And so I went through all of the data that I had on pH from our plant, and it comes out on average through the year for over 3 years at about 6.7 to 6.8. That's the pH on average. I think I saw figures as high as 7.4 and as low as 6.1, but it was rare. But basically, most of that 260,000 gallons, or whatever it'll be, that's coming out, has a pH of between about 6.7 and 6.8. It's just sort of depending on the year, but it's in that range. And so when you look at 6.7 and 6.8, the notion of the adsorption changes based on pH. So this, if it like for iron and aluminum, the optimal pH for phosphorus adsorption is 5. For calcium, it's pH 8. In this range of 6 to 7, and more or less right where we are is dead center, is when most of the phosphorus remains in its soluble form. It doesn't adhere. And I copied these, this is just one page from a newsletter, which took me to this fellow, to Dr. McBride, and went through this with him. And this is just, this simple graph here explains these phenomena. And it basically, this report has not dealt with that issue at all. It's not mentioned. It just talks about low pH and this kind of thing. But in this graph, you can see in the area where 6.7 would be, or 6.8, we have the less effectiveness of adherence, of adsorption. So it needs to be re-examined in terms of this bit of science that they haven't discussed.
All right.
So I think that this is critical factors. I was reading the report, I just got into it, and there were some relatively loose statements. Not loose, but just not, they weren't specific about things. And so I think that this, I tried to reach them today, and I called too late because it just turned out that way. But I think that, that this report, and then this ties into the technical memorandum, number
12.
Right.
12, right. So it's all tied together because if there is more phosphorus coming through, and I don't know about the well data and this kind of thing, but I just know what this is about. And we need to get some clarification. But if there is more phosphorus coming through, then there could be much more biological activity in Crocker Pond and then ultimately Herring Brook. And also what's interesting too, even in the technical memorandum number 12, which we haven't gotten to yet, so I can hold off on this, but I have another viewpoint on that. But I think that I've been through this with this specialist. He's actually a waste management. He's worked with sewage, sludge, and everything. It's all kinds of things. But the issue is that this report did not factor that in.
Okay, we get that point. Any
Right.
comment on that?
Well, I make a few comments. You picked up on the fact that the soils were low in silt, but you didn't pick up on the fact that they're very high in aluminum, okay, which is very good
No, I know that.
for absorbing phosphorus, okay,
Right.
just to mention that. Second of all, the wastewater is acidic now, even though it's 6.7 or 6.8, and we need to check that. It is acidic. The soils are quite acidic. And so I believe that even though the effluent might not be acidic as much as you want for this particular graph for it to be optimum, I think you need to look at what's passing through the soils because the soils are quite acidic.
And the groundwater.
And that's right, and that's the other thing. We need to double check on the groundwater, but it certainly is acidic, and I think it's around 5.
This is acidic. My point is, in explaining the flow rate, that 260,000 gallons is going to be pretty dominant input. It's going to change a lot of things because it's constant, basically, going through there, on average. Okay, on average. So, so that will become it'll be closer to that than it would be to the external. So
I think that's an assumption you're making, and I just want
No,
to
it's not,
point,
it's not my assumption. This is an expert's assumption.
you're saying that 260,000 is dominant. I'm pointing out to you that we have 500,000 gallons that have been discharged for 36 years, and there's no phosphorus in the wells that are closest to
I don't,
the sand filter beds.
I have not seen that data. I don't know how
Okay.
it was done or what, but all I'm saying is that this, this phenomenon
Okay.
needs to be looked at, and it hasn't been covered in the
Yeah,
report.
We're here tonight to
Yeah.
take comment
Okay.
and-
Yeah.
and pass them along to
Heard
the
it.
consultant,
Got
and
it.
there's a good
Yeah,
one.
I'm not saying it's,
Right.
all I'm saying is that, and I can give you, you said you wanted to check on some things, Virginia, so I'll give you 3 years of pH data.
That'd be
And
good.
you can have that,
Right.
if you need that. I can get, I can get I can send it to everyone, but this is
Okay.
from
Don't
DEP.
bother with me.
Huh? Oh, Eric, by the way, I sent you something a few years ago. I don't know how many years ago now. But I want it back. No. I sent you,
want me to find it?
what Sia sent me with regard to the proportioning the betterment based on value of the home.
Yeah.
It's in an Excel spreadsheet. And I don't think you have Excel, so I'll have to put
I
it
do,
in.
but I wasn't looking for any Excel, so yeah, that's it. Okay.
I can send it to you as a PDF, then you can see it. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
It's a spreadsheet.
Fine, okay, no, that would be great. Okay, any other comments on the report of Ecologic LLC?
A quick comment is that she assumes only 10% binding capacity of the aluminum that's in the soil. So
She's
it's
very
quite-
conservative.
It's quite likely that she's factored into her calculations the pH issue, and I think that's why she's only assuming a 10% adsorption rate for all the aluminum that's in there.
Yeah, we don't have any idea what her assumptions are.
Well, they're-
Or, I mean, we don't know all of them.
Well, what I
We have
mean
to
is
give her
that,
a chance to review.
Right.
yeah, we'll see what
There are
happens.
quite a few of them actually outlined in the report, but I think asking her to specifically
Yeah.
speak to the pH
Yeah.
issue would be
But-
quite
But
helpful.
also, even Ron's curve, if you draw
Not my
vertical,
curve.
well, the one you handed out. If you
The
draw-
one you're waving
If you
around.
draw a vertical line,
Cornell's
if
curve.
you draw a vertical line at 6.7, you want to add those two,
Yes, that's right.
and then it doesn't look that bad.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't look that bad, but it's about 2/3. I figured about 2/3 would be
Maybe they have a
taken
big
up.
safety feature.
About 2/3 would be taken.
Again, let's just say the bottom line. The
Yeah.
bottom line is if you have adsorptive capacity in the soils in the vicinity of the sand filter beds, and you have a monitoring well placed downstream of that, you have a treatment system for phosphorus without the extra treatment added, and you have an early warning system
Right.
in place. If it turns out additional treatment is needed at the plant, that is, it's not off the shelf, but it is a common treatment that is available. So the phosphorus does not pose a threat to Crocker Pond. That's the bottom line.
The bottom line is that a Shumat pond has been compromised by phosphorus coming from the MMR treatment plant.
We know
That
that.
much we know. That is a fact.
Okay,
And so all I'm saying is that this is part of the reality.
And the
of it.
conditions at Ashuma Pond and that wastewater treatment plant are very different.
Somewhat different.
Another reality that we probably will have to deal with in the near future is phosphorus is going to become precious.
Yes.
And we may
One.
have regulations that say you will recover the phosphorus.
Phosphorus.
We may start mining this stuff, as a matter of fact, if we fill out the,
I wish Hilda was here to.
To hear you say that. Yeah, she would be very
That would be
pleased.
good, exactly. That's a good point. yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else on the report from Ecologic LLC?
Just a minute. One other thing. This is actually they may want to recalculate. I don't know what the figure, they
What
said that.
page?
This is, just on page, it's on cited in several places, page 12. They talk about 3.7 milligrams per liter as the current effluent from the total phosphorus
Right.
from the plant. And I have data from the plant that says 2.4 milligrams per liter. It's not this high. So,
Then we're better
but,
off.
Yeah, this is a conservative.
I didn't
number.
say it was, yes, of course, we're better off,
Let's
but,
use-
but
let's
what I'm
use
saying
the
is that, is the data doesn't, that I got from Amy is different from this, which had 2.4 as the average, instead of 3.7,
Okay.
over months, over a year or
Okay.
two.
Jotted it down, and I will review with the team,
good.
and I will get back to you.
Okay, very
I can
good.
send you that
I
data.
was going to
so.
say, any other points that you want to raise, send them, send them to Jeff, right? Makes sense?
Yeah.
Let's see, let me just go through and make sure. I
Technical
have-
memorandum 12, of course.
Oh, yes, one more thing,
Oh, yeah.
one more thing. I just need a bit more of information, since we're going to get it. This table on page 4, it has, I would be interested in knowing what, it's got the PALS water quality testing results for Crocker Pond. And I'd like to know when those dates were, or what dates those measurements were taken in those years. Or is this an average, or what is it? But it seemed like it said that they took it like once a year, and it would vary. That would be an interesting factor there. So that would.
Those are historic.
Those
This
those
says-
are from
this
Cape
says-
Cod Commission data.
It's
Well, I know, I'm not questioning the date. I'm just saying, I'd just be curious about the
September
date.
2004, 2005, and
Right.
2006.
Yep, one event per year. That's,
In September.
Septem-
yeah, in
Sep-
September.
September.
Okay.
It says it, Cape Cod Commission, right.
2007, let's see, what,
Cape Cod
Oh.
Commission.
maybe I missed that when I was reading it. Okay.
How? Where was it?
Okay, any other questions or comments about technical memo 12? Which we
Seven.
didn't bring copies of, but we sent it around a couple days ago. And Jeff is presumably familiar with it.
I can ask the question on that table. Is that what?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, sure.
No, that, I'll ask the
Oh,
question.
you, oh, okay, I was going to ask it, okay. Yeah, I think we've established the date of September for,
Yes, it's in the text.
so.
I'm just looking for it.
Oh, it's the paragraph above the table.
First
The
sentence.
the paragraph immediately above it says, "We reviewed PALS field data," gives the sampling
Oh,
dates,
yeah.
spreadsheet,
Yeah.
one event, two sampling depths.
Wait, what page is this on?
It's on page 4.
Page 4,
Okay.
paragraph just above 2.2 findings,
Oh, I
starting
see,
with,
okay,
"We
good.
reviewed."
Third paragraph, first line.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, right, and just one other point on this report is that, and this whole, or maybe it's the next report. Next report.
Yeah.
So I don't need to chase that one down.
No, it's
No.
not in the.
No. Next report, technical memorandum 12. Comments?
Oh,
You're up.
no, I think that, I just had, it's hard to follow some of the discussion, for me anyway, and that's, because I'm probably, anyway, in looking at the nitrogen flows that they talk about through Crocker Pond, and it seems to me, depending on what the situation is, but it seems to me that during the cold time of the year, almost all the dissolved nitrogen that enters the pond will probably flow out. It won't be captured. They're talking about a 25% reduction and this kind of thing. But I think that there might be a reduction, but what I mean is that it's during the warmer months when there's biological activity that it might be captured.
But I think
So-
everything's based on it. Everything we talk about has to be on the average annual.
Oh, it's,
because-
okay, I didn't, that's why it wasn't clear to me how this was.
Because when you're talking groundwater flow
Yeah, yeah.
and all of that, you have to consider, like, all the MEP modeling, all the work that's been done for all the estuaries projects is on an average annual basis for that very reason, because you gotta look at the highs and the lows. So you're getting a lot in the summer, and you might not get as much in the winter, but you're looking at the average going through that system. So
Right.
that's why
Okay.
their factors are based on that.
And when it's done, then is it? Sorry. Okay. When it's done, like we have pulses, right? We're going to have July, August, high flow, and then the winter, low flow. So when it travels during those number of feet, is there going to be periods of the down, you know, can you?
What's the transit time from the plant to the pond?
That's what's gonna happen is whether you have if you have a high flow discharge at your recharge point,
Mhm.
that could be in the middle of the summer, but by the time that flow actually gets to
Right.
wherever it's going, it could be the dead of winter. The
Or it
other
could
thing-
be 2 years
It
later.
could be 2 years later.
It's 5 years. Transit time,
years.
then it's a
200 feet
minimum
per
of
year.
5 years.
Is it,
200 feet per year.
Is that right?
is that?
Well, okay, you
That-
did,
that-
you did it that way, that gives you 6 years then.
Yeah.
So the point is, it's not quick.
18 I did.
And so there could probably be
Right.
a dispersion of perhaps at least 6 months, so it's smoothed out.
Yeah.
So
Right.
No, anyway, it's just.
And some of that will also get into, I mean, I don't wanna get into the details, but how the treatment facility is operated will also depend on how flow is actually recharged at all your sites.
Right.
Because they just have to stay within their limits, and if they don't need to send any flow to there, they won't. Or
They
if they
won't.
wanted to send a consistent flow at a lower level, constant, they'll have some of those flexibility, but that's again why you look at everything on an average basis as it moves through the system, and you can't pick your two peaks in that.
Right.
Well, just, can the treatment plant decide whether, at any particular day, whether they're going to put flow into the existing or the other one, just so long as they balance it out over the year?
So long as they stay within their permit, yes,
So long as they stay with it, they
Yeah,
can,
they
they can
can-
choose how they do it.
that's right.
They have that flexibility now just
Yeah.
within their site, and then
Yeah.
this is just adding 2 more beds that just
Mhm.
gives them that capacity they need, but the flexibility to move as they need to maintain their beds and all that kind of stuff, so that's.
So,
you have
so
to-
conceivably, if they were going through a period when they were having a higher nitrogen content because of something that happened in the plant, they could send more into Site 7 because it was less likely to get into West Falmouth Harbor or something like that. Is that,
Again, it's all a function of however the permits, I don't wanna
Yeah.
I don't wanna
Yeah.
guess or
Yeah.
project or
Right.
anything. All I
Right,
wanna
yeah.
say is
Okay.
that.
They have that
they have that
flexibility.
They have flexibility to send flow where
Yeah.
they want to,
As
but
long
they
as
have
they
to do it within the confines of whatever their permit states.
Right.
So if
Right.
they have
Okay.
limits for various different things, they have to work within those limits
Yeah.
of flow or concentration or load or whatever it is.
okay.
Paul?
It appears that the DO and Parker
Maybe-
Pond
could we
is
get him a
declining
microphone, do you
over
think? Maybe, could you speak into a microphone so our nationwide TV audience can hear you?
I didn't know.
There's one here.
It appears the DO, dissolved oxygen, in Crocker Pond is declining over the years. Is that a seasonal variation, anomaly, or something else going on there?
The dissolved oxygen was noted by the Cape Cod Commission when they did their measurements, and they encouraged the town to sort of pick up where they left off and start monitoring the pond. You have about a half dozen houses that are right on the pond, I mean, they're upstream of the pond, and then another half dozen houses that are on the east side of 28A. So it is conceivable that some of those things from those septic systems could be affecting the pond, and there could be a trend. As you notice, the last data point is 2007. So we're overdue to, and we're being encouraged by the Cape Cod Commission, and you see in this report a recommendation of starting to monitor it on a regular basis. And I think that that's important to do, because it says what's the state of the pond now.
Sure.
And we're on track to do that. We are all
Are
set
we?
up, yes, with,
Whoa.
at Eichner at the Cape Cod Commission, we are going to be part of the PALS monitoring this year.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Good.
So
Good,
we'll
good.
have data points for this year.
Good.
Just one other point on this. It's not quite certain that it's declining, even though these numbers look like they're going down, because we have different depths. And the lower you go,
Yes.
the lower the oxygen.
That's
And the
true.
later, like it's 5 meters for the first 2 years, it's 6 meters the third year, 7 meters
Oh,
the next year. So
That
that's
could do it.
another factor.
yeah.
The other thing is that time of day. It isn't just the date. The time of day is important. No, the time of day, because if it's early in the morning, it may have very low saturation because it's been consumed overnight. And then when photosynthesis starts, then it goes up during the day. So it isn't, so these things always, even when I look at the FACES information, I need to know what time, because in the paper I look at it, 57%, you know, tell me what the actual number is. But here, and they don't do that here either. So it's time of day, it could be a cloudy day. If it's a cloudy day versus a sunny day, it's different, even the one day to the next. So this is hard to judge. So
It's talking about one data point per year.
right.
That's right.
That's not enough.
And none for 5 years in a row.
And none for 5 years.
Right.
And we don't, as you say, you're absolutely right, the time of day is critical to that.
Would the road runoff
And if it's
have
cloudy.
anything to do with it? Would the road runoff affect
Oxygen, it would be, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it affects, yeah.
We're still waiting for an answer to our letter.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is, all of these things are,
Yeah.
it's difficult. You know, we talk about baseline data. There is the world
It's-
around us that
Yes.
isn't like a lab. We're in a lab, you know, we got a test tube, you know, in certain conditions we can predict pretty closely, but,
It's a relative term.
yeah, so.
Technical memorandum 12, anything else in there to discuss, to look at, comments, observations?
No? All
Just
set.
one thing, this study of the impaired Herring Brook situation, is there any more information on that available? Because there was something about someone thought maybe there's a cesspool upstream or something that's compromising it already. I don't know, or if it's, what's happening, you know, what the,
All I know is that the Buzzards Bay Coalition is continuing its monitoring for the summer, okay, on its normal, and that they've agreed to work with some additional monitoring points upstream to see if they're, in fact, their data just happens to be localized and that
Right.
the stream upstream is actually, well, find out what the condition of the stream is upstream.
Right, we
So-
decided, we added 2 monitoring stations, one pretty much, right, there are 2 watersheds that go in, there's Wing Pond and then there's the sort of an unnamed watershed. So we worked pretty carefully to find
Yeah.
a monitoring station right at the head there, and then one at the midpoint. And we've had a volunteer, and I've gone out when she can't, to take nutrient samples every 2 weeks, starting at the end of May, and then dissolved oxygen every 5 days. So salinity and a couple other things on that same 5-day schedule. So we'll have the same battery of data points that we have for the point that's right at the bridge for upstream water quality. And so at the end of the summer, we'll be able to look and, you know, as soon as the results of the lab come in, we'll be able to see if the nitrogen is higher or lower upstream.
Right.
And so I think we're all very interested to see that.
Okay.
Any further discussion on item 5, A or B? If not, other reports by members and staff. Oysters, how we doing?
Tomorrow, we are putting in the rest of batch 1.
Okay.
About 9 o'clock, and I believe we're gonna have some additional video footage of that exciting deployment of bags. And Dick, who was here, I'm not sure if he's still here,
Yes.
good, yeah, has been gathering a lot of footage. So the oysters are going in, they're all doing extremely well, they've doubled in size. The second batch that's in the upweller has also grown gangbusters, and pretty soon that batch is gonna get deployed.
That's great.
So
I'm
everybody's-
reading in at least a couple of locations on Cape Cod where, as the oysters get closer to marketable size, people steal them. What do we have for security, and have we thought about that being a concern?
Well, there are a couple things on that. One was that this was raised as a question from the beginning that Chuck was talking about. And there was something about putting in a video surveillance somehow. I don't know how that works at night, but he had talked about that at one point. And the other thing that we need to do, and this is again with the community outreach, is to, maybe we should have a little note in the paper or something, just saying that people keep an eye out, just as a neighborhood thing, that, you know, and I think that that's, you know, going with the T-Ticket and the Falmouth Heights associations, I think that they would be interested, would be willing to do that.
It may be a little less likely there because there's no entrance to that pond to get a boat in. And they say it's been mainly from boats that they think it's been coming.
Yeah, these
Good point.
estuaries are a little more difficult because they're not quite as open as the other areas. But it's happening, it's becoming many places. There's like 3 times now, right?
Yeah.
They've been reported.
Yeah.
Of major $1 million thefts. So it's been a big,
They'll eventually find the people, I suppose.
These are small, they're still,
I understand, but they're
The-
gonna
the
get
vid-
big.
no, not this year.
not this year.
Well, maybe that's the word we should get out.
Yeah, they're on.
They're not-
Very small. Not worth your time.
That was the time, yeah.
If the video
and
does
they're
work
ugly.
at night,
It's true, they're not even
and the video does work at night, and you can buy
Size
it.
of a
from-
lima bean.
Okay, wait a minute.
smaller.
They will be, judging where we are now, they will be
Small.
too small. They'll be very, they will be
Too small
sub,
to-
there won't be of any interest.
Too small to steal.
And they're going to be skinny, fleshless things out there, so they're going to be,
Good.
you know,
Hardly any meat.
they're strong, but just, they're just not much to them. You know, they're really,
Spread the word.
I actually am meeting with Chuck Martinson soon, because we need to talk about storage. We're on to thinking about where we're gonna store our bags and things, just the practicality of 4,000 bags and whose garage are we gonna put these in, where town hall, I mean, where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
So he and I have to have kind of a logistics, a midpoint, and I will bring this up. Chuck is actually really on top of enforcement. He is, I see him day and night all over the place when there are enforcement issues to be dealt with. And he's very aware, but I'll bring it up to him and I'll report back to the committee what he feels would be, if there is something more substantial than what we're doing now, what he would like to see. And I'll make sure we talk about it.
and,
Good.
and I think things will be, I mean, if this works out, in the next few years, we may be seeing, going into Great Pond, Green Pond,
Yeah.
and it might
Right.
be that, then there is access, there is more access in those situations.
That's right.
But so we just have to work it out as we go along and find out what the best thing is.
If you do want video at night, it exists. It's under $200. You can buy it from LL Bean or Cabela's or something.
Huh.
Hunters stick them on trees, come back in the morning and see all the deer and whatever that are going by.
Yeah,
And
but can you
for
tell-
another $100,
you know-
you can have it wirelessly go to your PC.
Huh.
It's just amazing.
Wow. What a world.
Very good.
Wayne?
I have 2 very small items.
Sure.
I'd just like to remind everybody that the 208 process, I am joining the group that's going to do Walkway and Papaneset. I've told them I'm joining that group. I just want to remind people that it's there. And are we going to send anybody to any of those groups? Or
I'm thinking of going.
Virginia's been.
I signed up, I don't know if I'll be picked,
Participating.
but, yeah, I don't know.
And the other thing is that I just gave Sia, you remember in December and January, it was suggested that I should do some thinking and writing for the committee about PV, calculations of PV and so forth for scenarios and projects. The mathematics of it.
Tell them what PV is.
Present value calculations for things like that. And I just handed Sia the least important of the pieces of that discussion is to create a little spreadsheet model that can show how it might be done. And I have done that. I gave a copy to P. To Sia. I would like feedback on it because I'm working on information that I have about how those work, which is 25 years old. I don't think they've changed the procedures, but I may have forgotten some things. And I want to be sure that I have everything in there that I need to get in there. Just the model itself, and I'm not talking about the data. When you come to the data, those are that's where the difficulties lie, and is getting the data right to put in those models. So the first thing is to talk about how we can develop a simple model that we can use anytime, a transparent model where you can see the data that goes in and you can see what comes out of it. This is standard stuff. There's nothing unstandard about it. I'd like to give a copy to you and just see whether I've captured everything that needs to be captured in that model.
Sure. Good.
And whether I'm doing it right. Because as I say, I haven't done anything like this for 20 years. And I may have forgotten some things.
You mean whether you forgot a certain cost?
But no, yeah, whether that comes later. The question of whether I got all the costs right, that comes later. That's a different question. The question is setting up the models to calculate right, so that they do the job of calculating present values or internal rates of return and so forth. That's simple. It's just a question I want to know that I've got a spreadsheet which we can use internally to put in any information we get about anything in. And we don't have to go out to somebody else to discover this information. As long as we know what the information is and get accurate information, we can put it through a model like that and get an answer like that. I just want to know, I want to be sure that I've got it correct. There's lots of things, you can get these things, but most of them, when they're packaged, they're mostly so that you put the data in, behind the scenes it does what it's supposed to do, and then at the end you get an answer. You don't know how it got it. I have a spreadsheet which can show you the whole thing up front, and just you can see the whole thing. It's just a very simple thing.
Great. Well,
So,
so you can look at that and send it around if you want. Or,
I have a hard copy, you
Yeah,
gotta send it to me
great.
electronically.
Okay.
The description there that I gave is developing that. That has to do with the theoretical framework,
Yeah, reading it.
and it may not be quite accurate either,
Yeah.
or may not be clear. And I just want to be sure that you give information out. Right?
Mhm.
It's taken a long time to get back to you, but that's my first
Oh,
step.
Great.
The second step is to start thinking about, we need to start thinking about what data need to go into these models
Mhm.
and how we want to set them up so we compare scenarios right with one
Mhm.
another.
Mhm.
And I'm sure we can find somebody and pay them to do that.
No doubt.
Yeah. You can always pay someone to do it.
Okay, then.
Yeah, but I think it would be a good thing to have some in-house capability to do some.
Hey, we can always find somebody willing to be paid.
That's right.
Short report on the PRBs, and I'm not sure if it's news or not exactly, but the group, the CLM Smith, whatever they are, CDM Smith, they're going ahead with the one at Great Harbors in terms of sort of preliminary design and preliminary cost. Seacoast Shores, I think we're not quite finished talking about yet, because we had 2 sites there, and each one has different pluses and minuses. So I think before we told them to go ahead, we have some more thinking to do. Sort of along the lines of, do you want one that's the cheapest and easiest option, which may not be universally applicable to the geography of many places in Falmouth? Or do you want one that's tougher and harder to implement, but might be a more realistic cost when they come up with costs and difficulty of design? So that's part of the conversation anyway. Before we say just go ahead and do something, we want to make sure it's going to be something that provides us something useful at the end, and not just requiring more study.
Can you put this in context for me? The last I knew, there was a short list
Yeah.
of
That's right.
possible sites.
Right.
Is the decision on how that's winnowed down a working group level decision, or something that's referred to this whole committee?
Fair question. I don't know.
Well, we've been using it as a working group.
Yeah.
It obviously hasn't been brought to the committee. So they brought the total number down to 4.
Yeah, right.
1 in West Falmouth.
Right, and that was
3 in East
presented to
Falmouth.
Right,
us,
they
and we
brought-
And
all
that's
said,
already-
looks
They brought
okay.
Yes.
4. West Falmouth is a given.
Is a given.
Right.
And out of the other 3, one of the ones in Seacoast had problems.
Well, the problem in Seacoast is there's a nice stretch that's public road, and then there's another stretch that is dirt road, but it's private. But it looks like the dirt road that's private might be easier to install, and that's the trade-off that Eric
But
is.
my question is, should I spend any time thinking about this?
I don't
Or will the decision be made for me?
Well, the
Probably
third
made for
possibility is
it,
we'll
yeah.
we'll come in with the two recommendations, and then you can think about it.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not sure that's the right question.
Okay.
Okay, I think the correct question is to find, what we want to know is how well they work.
Well, two
Right,
things we wanna know.
basically.
How well they work and how feasible they are to locate and install in this
Oh,
town.
no, right, right. Well,
Yeah.
more that we can
Construction is
figure
a
that
big
out.
piece.
Construction's a big
Construction
issue.
is a big piece
Yeah.
of the cost.
Yeah.
And that's what we're struggling with.
Right.
Do you do something that looks easier to construct? But that may not be representative of, if we're going to
Yeah.
construct them in a larger scale, we're getting a cost that is under.
Well, it depends what you think, your back of the envelope calculation based on what you already know, is a reasonable guess for how you might do build-out, to steal the term, of PRBs. I
Right.
mean, you know, if you only
which
did
one
those
is-
two pilot locations, the whole thing would be silly because it would be too small. I mean,
Right.
it wouldn't
It's
amortize
500
our
feet.
time thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also know you're not going to do the whole town.
Right. No,
Just
yeah, the
into-
middle ground
So
is,
how
Right.
big is the middle ground?
Right.
And so does your pilot project have enough coverage and variety to enable you to extrapolate later to see how much of that middle ground you're going to be able to do?
that's exactly the issue. And for that, we actually have to go back and look at the geography on these peninsulas. Because the only place they're going to be applicable is on the peninsulas.
That have perimeter roads, and
That
not
have
all peninsulas have perimeter roads.
But
And then you get into the question of
How
what the
far to groundwater.
elevation to groundwater, how many
Yeah.
trees, how many.
but all of that is a construction question. Well, our interest, I would think, is how much nitrogen reduction credit can be applied. That's what the demonstration is supposed to show us.
That's one of the two questions.
Yeah, no, the second one, though, you can, I mean, it's a construction project. You can get an estimate and figure out if you tear up a road and have to
Well,
repave it.
that's exactly what we're paying these guys for, is.
Yeah,
It's
right.
not- those estimates aren't free.
And they also vary
No, I-
considerably. They vary considerably with tree cover, depth of PRB, private versus public. I mean, they're actually, it's complicated to get an accurate number. In the same way that with the eco toilets, you know easily what the actual materials costs are, but the installation
Installation.
costs
Yeah.
go across the board. So what we're trying to do with the eco toilets and with the PRBs is get instances. If you've got this kind of an installation, plus or minus, it's gonna be about this much. And if you've got this kind of an installation, so what Eric and Virginia are trying to say is, what you wanna try to do is have enough data in your construction figures that you can extrapolate to if you have to go 10 feet deeper. If you've got this much, you can't use this kind of equipment. I mean, being able to bring in big equipment changes the cost considerably. And we're just trying to understand that.
You want to do the most advantageous one because risking having one that costs a lot and doesn't work is a really bad risk because then everybody will say, if you had only done X
Right.
instead of Y that you did, it would have worked. And nobody will really know. Whereas if you do the easiest, the one with the best return, nitrogen return on investment, and it works, then you can say, well, we can do that, and we think we can stretch it, it'll cost a little bit more, we'll go here. But if it doesn't work at all,
Right.
then you know, curtains for PRB.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's the point,
Right.
is that we want to know if they work, how they
Oh, no,
work.
no question.
Yeah.
That's the threshold
But,
question.
but more interesting, I think, then comes in do we do the silo type or we do the wall type or
They're
whatever?
looking at both of those.
And that's
Okay.
site-specific.
Yeah.
Right.
If there's nothing much in the ground, we'll try a trench. If there's a whole bunch of things, you might have to do the other. If it's 30 feet deep, you do one thing. If it's 10 feet deep, you do another
Yeah.
thing. All these are part of the picture, but yeah, the threshold question is, does it stop the nitrogen?
But the other thing, on the work that was done in Wacoit Bay, for example, are we going to get, this will be different, so I guess we'll be getting more data, more
Yeah.
examples of how effective it is.
That was only 50 feet,
Right.
and I'm going to say it maybe went down 20 feet. And they,
12?
I think.
12?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it was like 2 feet above the water table. I mean, it was practically there.
Yeah.
That flooded
Whereas
down
if you're
40.
using town roads, perimeter roads,
Yeah.
you're at least 5 feet above the water table. And you, depending on Seacoast Shores, it turns out, you could be as much as 20 feet above the creek.
Are you sure it was only 50 feet?
50 feet long, yeah.
You're sure of that?
Ken Foreman told me that.
Because I thought that was 200 feet long. It was
No, they weren't that
that was
long.
50 feet.
But so what are we talking about length now? How long?
500 feet.
500?
400, 500, in that vicinity.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. So a lot of things sort of being mulled over and weighed and
Because I was just thinking, if we get the best bang for the buck, the first thing is, okay, we do a cheap one, okay? And it shows us it works.
yeah.
Then we've saved some money, and we've also then can say, okay, if we have to go further, then we get into Jerry's mantra about dollars per pound of nitrogen, removed, and then we start looking at that.
There's one more factor, and that is that it's the depth of not the depth to the aquifer, but once you're in the aquifer, how much of that has nitrogen in it? And if it's 30 feet or 40 feet, and you've already trenched down 10 feet, you're getting really deep trenches, as in very difficult to construct. And so from the DEP point of view and the environmental point of view, you want to go deep enough in the aquifer that you finally can get to, quote, the bottom of the nitrate concentrations, and so you may end up with a very deep trench. So there are lots of factors. This is, as we found all the way along, nothing is simple.
Right.
I just my last point on this. I think that we need to give the consultant, if they come, it's already in terms of reference, I presume, to tell us, to answer these questions, right, basically. They shouldn't be asking us, well, what do you think? They should say, here's the best way to get the answer that you want.
Right.
And I would hope that would be the outcome of this.
Well, as we
Yeah.
discovered, it's an interactive effort
Yeah, okay.
with consultants.
There's also that,
That's a good interactive.
Okay, before I forget it, the town planner, the town manager asked the town planner to ask the planning board to take a look at the CWMP and opine. And so we told them we would be happy to send a person, we'd be happy to give you the copy of the slide show that we gave the selectmen. We'd be happy to do anything you want, but your board will be asked to opine on this.
I was at the Board of Selectmen's meeting
Yeah.
where it was suggested by the town manager and then by the chairman that you get reactions from the planning board and I think the zoning board of appeals. Concern I had is, I don't think the planning board is qualified to judge the technical aspects of the comprehensive report that was submitted. However, I offered at our meeting on Tuesday night to give them a brief summary of what we've done, because my concern is you have a very tight timeline, and we don't want the planning board to be sitting, deliberating this where you have to move forward. So I suggested perhaps at our next meeting, we might want to make a brief presentation, brief summary. And I was going to ask you after the meeting whether you have those slides that would be available we could use, or would someone from this board want to do it, or would you be comfortable if I did it?
I'd be happy to have you do it. Do you want to give them the slides?
I'm happy to give them
Good,
slides.
fine.
So
Does that make sense?
I think that's great.
That would be
the
terrific.
summary was,
Absolutely.
I have to get with Brian Curry, the town
Yeah.
planner,
Sure.
and just figure out where we go.
Great.
We do not have a meeting next week, but the following week we do. But again, my concern is you have a very tight timeline, and I don't want us to be holding you up if that's really a concern of the Board of Selectmen.
Right. No, that would be terrific. And-
So what I can do is just go through them very quickly if you agree.
Absolutely. No
The
problem.
other thing I wanted to mention, I noticed that Ray Jack has a summary too of the
Mhm.
report, which I thought was pretty comprehensive and well done too, so
You
that
got
could
that?
be, yes, I
Yeah,
got
she
that.
got that.
Jerry
I think
did, Jerry
she had
Thomas.
sent that around,
Yeah.
everybody in the committee got that. So yeah,
So-
that was good.
So what the intent would be to provide that as a handout before
Mm-hmm.
the meeting, go through this very, very quickly, because again, the planning board is not going to comment on technical aspects of it, but they should be aware of it in general of some of the issues that are going on.
Terrific. That would be great.
Very.
Thank you. Steve, you want to tell people what this is and what they should do about it?
I read earlier drafts of it. We're talking about the Oyster Pond CWMP now, and the recent report from Wright Pierce, which was just handed to me tonight. And there's going to be a working group next week
Right.
to discuss it. And then I think after that, we could present it to
Okay.
this committee.
All right. So it's been passed around. You're welcome to read it, and there will be a
Not
presentation.
everyone got
Oh,
a
no?
copy, it was just the working group.
It's just for the
Oh.
work,
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's still within the
All
working
right.
group. until-
Never mind. You will get a report when the working group has worked on it. Okay, any other reports by members and staff? Okay, review and vote on minutes of the prior meeting. Everybody's received their minutes of the prior meeting. Everybody's happy with the minutes of
get
the
the
prior
minutes,
meeting?
right?
Any additions or corrections? Ron?
I had a general comment. I felt that since it wasn't recorded, that, and, you know, Carol did a great job of getting down what she could in that long meeting, but it seemed to me like it was not as substantive in terms of what was covered and decisions that were made and things like this to some extent, just because there's a limit to what minutes can do, really. So I just felt that it was a little could have been a little. Not you did a great job. It was just that considering what it was about, it seemed to me that it was unfortunate it wasn't recorded, because it's difficult to recant all the discussion and this kind of thing that happened and changes that were made and the subsequent work that was on it. So I don't know what to do about that. I just felt that we're kind of have them. I don't have any objections to anything that's in it at all. It's just that I felt it was a little bit bridged, I guess is the word.
But the CWMP speaks for itself.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
Yeah.
All of the changes that were made are in this document, and this is what went to the selectmen.
Right.
So although the backing and forthing wasn't recorded on tape, the end result has been very faithfully reproduced,
Yeah.
unless anybody finds something that somehow got missed. But Nate was here, Sia checked it, I checked it,
But-
so there's been a lot of effort put in to be accurate.
Right.
You didn't put in those periods.
No. With the exception of the periods. We were
Yeah.
so tired by that
We
point.
noted that we don't have time for periods.
That's right.
right.
And the other point is, if there's, we may still catch a few things. There will ultimately be a final printing that will have all of the gaps filled in that Jeff referred to earlier. So if there's one or two other things, then, that can still be put in.
To-
Um,
No, I just,
Yeah.
there's just only one thing, when Matt came in, he was saying, we already said we weren't going to start with the executive summary, but we're going to come back to it
Yes,
as
you're right.
needed, and we didn't.
That's true.
So that was,
It's 11 o'clock.
I don't know, what?
It probably
Yeah.
might be worth waiting in case the selectmen might have some.
No, I'm not saying, yeah, we could do that,
Right.
yeah, or else we can make a list of things
Right.
that are here, but it's not, there's not major stuff, it's sort of,
Yeah.
most of it's in the main text now. But
Right.
it may not be consistent with the main text now.
Right. Well, true
As it
enough.
changes,
We
yeah.
did, I can say that
Yeah.
I did make an effort to try to, where comments were made, certainly I know in the ones where we literally had sections that were almost identical, I went back to try to make sure that those same comments were reflected back in the executive summary.
Good.
I may not have caught everything, but I did try to make that effort. Granted, we were trying to we went from let's get the two tables in there to, let's do the whole thing by
Right.
the selectmen's meeting, so.
Right.
I do apologize, we tried to get
Yeah.
all the comments we could address at the time, so. But we knew that we'd go back, and our AA will also try to get all those periods that we
Yeah,
made.
yeah, we can
You may ultimately get your
get
period.
wins periods.
I got only 5, I could only.
I have to say, in the time frame that was available from our meeting to get it to the selectmen in printed form a week later, right? That was it.
That was something.
Yes, that's right.
It was-
Well, in fact, it was 5 days later.
5 days, that's right. It was a remarkable effort by you and Nate and Virginia
Yeah.
and
And Sia.
everybody else who made it happen. I didn't think we could do it. And then when he sent an
6
email,
hours of editing.
he said, well, if you got it to us by this time, we could get it in print by this time, and we could get it to the selectmen on Thursday at noon, and Thursday at
Yep,
noon it got there.
and we did it.
And there it was.
So, and it was really worth doing, because if we had sent them an earlier version and said, well, we have 5,000 corrections to make, it would not have gone well.
Yeah,
Oh, excuse me.
I know, I just had, it's one question about this. I know it's not really on the
What
agenda,
page is
but
that?
there is, in this table of actions, table ES1, it says, you know, that there's going to be a $90 million town vote for 30-year bond for construction. And I just, you know, it seems to me that that's related, and all of that's related to this, according, you know, the way it is stated here. So I don't know if that's,
Well, the number 90 is a hypothetical approximation,
Yeah.
and the idea that it's only for this is, nobody thinks that. I mean, we've, as
no,
soon as-
no, right, I know, I'm just saying, it just says that here, though. I'm
Well,
just- yeah.
it basically blocked out, you might say, it just blocked out a number. And it's just to give people an idea of scale. It may be 80 million, it may be 70 million. At this point, we really don't know.
We've
Because
been
there's-
warned that we won't get all.
But it won't be any
Yeah.
more than 90.
No, right, but I'm
and
just
we won't
thinking,
get it all.
because there's a water.
in the text
wa-
somewhere, isn't it?
Yes,
That
yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
counting on that.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
It's the best we can
and that would be one of the main points that the selectmen made with the draft, was, you know, don't presume that this whole window is yours.
This discussion brings up a question that had occurred to me earlier. Virginia, you said at one point that at some point before the end of this process, we were going to probably go back and redo the structure of the, some parts of the executive summary to correspond to the final result.
I think he just talked about that.
That's what he's,
That's-
and Matt as well. And so, you know, I agree. We will still, it's an agenda item.
That's just going to be fitting in and making sure everything fits together.
And we do
That's
have
right.
to wait for the selectmen's input.
Right,
Yeah, that makes
So
sense, yeah.
That makes sense.
right.
Okay, the motion that I'm waiting for is to approve the minutes of the prior meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
No, that's okay. I won't-
Next meeting is.
Motion to adjourn. Let's talk about the schedule. 29th of August is the next meeting. And then in September,
When did you say we had to get the, everything into the, was that the 7th
I
of
think
September?
we decided the 5th of September we should
That's-
meet because the 6th.
that's right.
That's right, that's right.
That's right.
6th is quite likely to be the
Yep.
deadline. And so we'll be back to the 1st and 3rd
Exactly.
Thursdays in
So the
September.
29th of August and the 5th of September.
September.
Right.
What's the 6th of September deadline?
We're estimating that that's the deadline for the warrant
Warrant
articles.
Warrant articles,
And then the next one would be the 19th?
Yes.
right. And there is no meeting August 15th. You have a summer vacation before you.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Think of that.
What am I
And
going to
then
do?
September 19th is the last one. we're
Go
scheduling.
sailing. You too.
September 19th, what?
I've been-
the last
no,
one we're
I've been sailing
scheduling
all
as
this
of now.
week. I mean, I've been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do October later.
First and
Yeah.
third.
Yeah. Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.